following program contains mature subject matter, coarse language, and scenes that some viewers may find offensive. Viewer discretion is advised.
A reserve is a piece of land that was given to us by the government, just for Native people. There was this thing that I was told by my father. It was called the 500-year war, ever since the settlers came in the 1400s. They would come and just tell us that you live in this part of this land now, and we own the rest of this. And that's when the war started between the settlers and the Native people. And we're still in it.
Going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the ring. All the way from Manitoba, 22 Wagon,
Canada, a country best known internationally for vast unpopulated landscapes, overly polite citizens, and the rapper Drake. Less known is the contentious relationship between the Indigenous First Nations and the colonial forces of the Canadian government. Beginning with the Indian Act of 1876, First Nations were forced off of their traditional territories and onto the reserve system. These are small and often isolated parcels of land still owned by the government. Decades later, and the system is still in place, with nearly half of Canada's First Nations population living on reserves. Conditions on reserves remain so difficult that a UN Indigenous rights investigator officially described a state of crisis due to, among many factors, a lack of infrastructure, including drinking water and access to education and healthcare. You might be wondering what any of this has to do with pro wrestling. A few years ago, I saw footage of the Canadian Wrestling Federation's Ice Road Wrestling Tour. CWF is an independent promotion headed by Frank Rickman, known by the ring name Chris Thorne. The company has carved out a niche in the business by visiting the most remote Indigenous communities in northern Quebec. For reservations that are isolated from outside entertainment, the CWF is literally the only show in town. I'm joining their summer tour to see firsthand why this band of road warriors are continuously welcomed by the communities they visit, and learn more about the connection between wrestling and the Cree and Inuit communities of the James Bay region.
We travel on the road, sometimes for 30 hours straight, show up at a show, there is no time to sleep. We're setting a ring up, doing the show, tearing down, and we're leaving for the next community. We are the biggest traveling company in Canada. Nobody does more shows than us. Last year we did 97 shows. I'm going to beat it this year. People sometimes look at you, oh, he's loaded, he's making a fortune off this. And you're not, you really aren't. I make a living, I'm far from being rich. I think a real businessman would say, screw this, call it quits. But me, it's like this is part of me, and I'm gonna continue to do what I do regardless. Maybe it's not the smartest business decisions in the world, but you know, this is what I do.
First stop was Skaginish. Waskaganish is a Cree community of over 2,200 people on the southeast shore of James Bay in the Yukchi Territory in northern Quebec, Canada. The community has only had road access since 2001 and is over 14 hours by truck from Montreal.
Hey man, where's this guy going? Oh, Jesus!
Do it!
The CWF crew doesn't waste any time. Moments after arriving in town, Frank has them loading into the hockey rink to set up the ring.
Everybody that comes out, like I watch them, I look at them, and I judge them. They have to go by my rules. Everybody helps put up the ring.
Look at this guy. Oh, only on camera.
You know, no drugs, no alcohol, no hooking up with any of the girls in the community. I've had guys go on a tour, they've lasted 3 days and flew themselves home.
Was it like custom built for you guys? Because
this was custom built like 20-something years ago.
Okay.
The first day is always the hardest. It gets boring just setting up the thing over and over.
Shadow Xtreme is a Cree wrestler from the First Nation community of Puckatawagan. He spent years training mainly in Winnipeg when Frank and the CWF crew rolled through his community. After an audition and a debut match, Frank quickly signed him and gave him a seat in the van. He's a crowd favorite in these communities. Tony Caribou is an amateur stuntman, a breakdancer, and a parkour practitioner now turned wrestler. Also from Puckatawagan, he was first introduced to the sport and the CWF by his uncle Shadow, and the pair now form the tag team, Cree Xtreme. Their inclusion is critical as Cree Xtreme are not only baby faces, wrestling speak for heroes, but also the only First Nations wrestlers taking part in the tour. For their young audiences, it's a much-needed opportunity to see legit First Nations representation in the ring. CWF's top babyface is Jesse Bieber. He literally grew up on the road, cutting his teeth as a referee before becoming a wrestler and CWF's current champion. While he's Frank's son, no amount of nepotism can account for his popularity with these crowds.
So you've been a wrestling fan pretty much your whole life, right?
Yeah, like I was born in '84. WrestleMania started in '84.
Yep.
You know, like it's something that was like that I just loved.
Tim Toolman Hill is 1/3 of the award-winning and unapologetically political group A Tribe Called Red. He's also a close friend and fellow lifelong wrestling fanatic. When I told him I was traveling to Waskaganish to witness Cree Xtreme wrestle, he jumped in a truck and drove 22 hours to hang out with us. Tim grew up in Canada's reserve system in 6 nations of the Grand River and knows firsthand the effects it can have on the confidence of First Nations youth.
Growing up on the res, you get a sense of like your education isn't that great, you know. That's what they say, and like it usually comes even from our own people. A lot of people like kind of like hold us down, and we get the sense that, you know, that not only that we can't succeed out there, but we don't belong out there. I grew up not really having much representation in media, being, you know, Indigenous in this world. Like for wrestling though, it was always the Ultimate Warrior for me. Love the Warrior. I knew he wasn't like Native, Indigenous or anything, but the fact that he was a warrior and what he stood for, it just like connected with me. And like it's all like Native people who have like this connection with wrestling. It's something that's universal.
We went with the boys to cut promos at the local radio station. Native-run radio stations serve an important role on reservations by providing a powerful local voice. And for CWF, it's one of the most reliable ways to get the word out about this show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is a show not to miss. You come out, you see wrestling's greatest pop star, Jesse Bieber. I am your CWF heavyweight champion. No clue on wrestling yet, but I can tell you it's going to be one hell of a show, and I'm going to make sure you have one hell of a time.
I'm Shadow Xtreme, all the way from northern Manitoba. Also with me is my tag team partner and relative, Tony Caribou.
Yay! Hello, Waskaganish. I am the high-flying, spectacular First Nation sensation, Tony. I will be wrestling tonight. In action. In action, I will be in action. Hoya!
And I want to thank you. What is your name, by the way?
Greta.
Greta, you gonna be there?
I don't know.
She doesn't know. So, ladies and gentlemen, come down at 7 p.m. to the sports complex. $2 for kids, $5 for adults, and I guarantee you, you're gonna have a great time.
Hey!
Guys.
What is it about wrestling that we connected with so much? I don't understand.
Grappling was a thing with our people back then.
Mm-hmm.
There's always been a practice of just grappling and pinning each other down to the ground.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, there's leg wrestling up north.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's even the hook.
The hook. I was going to say the hook.
Yeah.
Where they wrap each other's arms around and they grab each other's chicken and
then pull.
And
and whoever taps first is like, you lost.
And that's a wrestling move. That's been like brought into wrestling too, right?
Yeah,
the hook.
Yeah. We're really big on the competition and pain. I guess how much you can endure.
Long before the CWF began touring, wrestling was visiting First Nation communities in Canada. Starting in the 1980s, Tony Candela, a promoter based out of Winnipeg, started running tours on reservations across the north. Now the wrestlers of CWF continue that tradition by making sure wrestling remains active and present on reserves for a new generation of First Nations youth.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys don't know, this is Tony Candela. He's from Pakistan.
So Tony's been doing this for 5 years?
Yeah, but like only really seriously for the past like 2. You see, he's got like a natural aptitude for it. Like,
yeah, he does. Nah, he sells good too.
Pardon me?
He sells good.
This Rebel is for the title. So, we got Tim Toolman from Tribe Called Red. He's going to be special guest referee. Now, Tim, the only major rules to this, both their little feet touch the ground.
Right.
They're out.
It's super hectic right now. We got 4 guys in the ring.
Shadow is my actual birth name. It was given to me because my dad had a rock band called The Shadows. When I was a child, when I did the crazy stuff, I was always doing something to surprise or give a little bit of a shock factor to people. I used to just jump off a tree onto like a bunch of bushes and just get scrapes and cuts and get hurt. That all led to being very fearless. I'm not like a psycho or mentally challenged or anything. I just don't like being bored. There's not much to do in the res. I wanted to become a wrestler. I was obsessed about wrestling. I even had dreams about being inside a wrestling ring. I knew there was a wrestling school somewhere, and I found it. It was quite a distance. So I had to take a 8-hour train ride, and I jumped on a Greyhound bus to Winnipeg. It was another 10 hours. The next day I had to take the train back to Puck. And I did that once a month for a whole year and a half.
every kid that I talked to talked about how amazing it was to see you in there. You know?
I wanted to inspire. I'm Native, and I'm wrestling among my other Native people, so I want to inspire people. The thing was, the government just, here's some land, okay, do whatever you want to do there. Just don't bother us. Basically, so we're just in our own little cooped up area, and we just, live life with our own, and things happen, good and bad. And since I was saying, we're an angry people now because of what happened to us. So a lot of people like to go towards alcoholism. It's very depressing.
Seek a meal.
Can I borrow a quarter?
You borrow a quarter?
Yeah, I'll give you.
You're not gonna pay it back.
Yeah, I will.
You're not.
I always pay back. When? My land.
I guess I consider him like family. So he comes, stays at our house, and trains at our school. He's just a great person, to have around. And I guess we kind of took him under our wing. And Tony's now here, and it's Shadow's nephew. They're a tag team, and I think they could go places.
Wapmagustui and Kajurapek are the northernmost Cree and the southernmost Inuit village in Quebec. The community is only accessible by air and for a few weeks in the late summer by boat.
Me and Tony were both from Pucktawagan, and I trained a lot of the kids and the teens that were interested in wrestling. When I purchased my wrestling ring, Tony was the first person to come over and help set up the wrestling ring. Something in his life happened. He was going down a dark path for a while. So when CWF came to Puck and scooped him up, that was it. He just needed to get out of there before it got any worse.
Okay, so now you know what you gotta do?
I gotta tuck, go faster.
Okay.
If you're launched too, I don't think they'd be able to get there.
Shadow's trying to get his flips back right now. He's had to let a lot of that flip that he used to be able to do go. So Tony's taking him through and helping him get his flip back. He's learning, I'm helping him break it down. I could do this too, but I don't want to show off for everyone. Oh!
Just about.
Better though.
To stick it.
Oh! That was awesome though. You were so high. Just seems like parkour and wrestling are such a natural mix together. They just go so well. What do you feel wrestling has given you?
Gave me confidence. I gave up hope for a bit because I didn't have nothing to do at Puck.
I'm trying to give them something to do and something fun.
Well, you're saving them from making an 18-hour journey like you had to do.
Oh,
to go to wrestling school.
Yes. That's one of the goals I wanted to do when I became a wrestler.
You're straight edge,
Yeah, straight edge, yes.
Was it hard growing up avoiding, not even necessarily, alcohol and drugs and things like that, but even just the conflict that brings from people around you using drugs and alcohol?
I just somehow just stayed away from it. I don't know how I stayed away from it. I just stayed away.
You are strong.
I don't. For some people that drink, it's normal. It's just normal for me to not drink and not smoke or do drugs. And can you grab my jacket? I'm getting cold now.
I was going to say, you must be freezing. Do you want my jacket? Do you want me to just
I got my own jacket. Dude.
You gotta keep them warm. Oh yeah.
I could feel my nipples getting hard, so.
As well as wrestling shows, Frank and the CWF crew also offer training camps for local kids. Kayla is one of their most devoted students. She'll wait months between lessons as the guys only come through her town 3 or 4 times a year.
You gonna do some stuff?
Lock up with Jesse. Come on.
And
Good girl.
so this way. There you go.
There you go.
This is strong too. I like it. Loosen up a little. Should be able to move around right, a little bit. Yeah. Cool. Ready?
I was really interested about doing the things that they were doing.
Yup.
So I decided to see how it feels like to be an actual wrestler.
Remember how to reverse it?
No.
Okay, so
No?
over here.
I have like a long-term and a short-term memory loss. I got that from my father, biological father.
Watch. Stop breaking. Okay, I'm gonna hook his hand. Step through. I'm here. I'm gonna hook. Step. Place. Okay.
I always wanted to get the community involved in what we're doing. Like every community we go to now, there's a community member that's training with us. I want to make that person's dream come true.
You're gonna fall down on your face, Kayla. Just fall on your face. Drop the hold.
Ready?
Just put your hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Hold down. Good girl.
Kayla is one of the girls from a community. It's a flying community, troubled background,
Come on, push up. Shut her head.
and she's an amazing kid.
Good girl. Nice.
We run different programs, and she's been involved with all of them. She really, really took to the wrestling, which I was shocked because a lot of girls don't really take to it.
You want to try and stop the pain, right? So the way to do that
15 minutes.
is to try and come this way, right?
I got adopted at 8 months. My parents couldn't be able to take care of me.
Oh. Whoa. Whoa. Ah.
They're still alcoholics, drug addicts. They told me I won't be able to live with them until I'm 18 again. So it's kind of hard seeing them drinking or doing drugs. I don't mainly go out anymore. After my grandpa passed, I started not going out after that. My grandfather was like a father to me.
Like here, if I wanted to, I could break off and flip you.
The training camp was amazing. I had an opportunity to be able to go back outside and see the world again, and to be able to be connected to new people.
You're doing awesome.
It felt like I was myself in that ring. Like I can do anything. Letting out all the stress inside me. And the depression. I feel blessed in that ring.
So tell me about your first match.
I actually won the Royal Rumble last year.
Yeah?
Yes.
That's awesome.
A lot of kids wanted my signature for some reason.
How does that make you feel? Like you're like a wrestling star?
Well, first of all, it's amazing that kids can like look up to me after doing good things in life, and to be able to see how it feels to be like a kid that is very known well in this community.
And also you're a really positive role model too, because of
Yes.
your stance on drugs and alcohol.
Yes.
So you're set. You're like the next John Cena.
Yes.
Shadow, I think he's a role model. He avoided all the things that are affecting kids this generation.
Kids love Shadow.
Hearing Kayla's story has made it clear how Indigenous wrestlers like Shadow show kids that there's a place for them in the world outside of the reserve. As Tim pointed out in the beginning of the tour, it's not just the geographically remote nature of the reserves, but the psychological isolation that can make kids feel trapped.
Wow.
The reality is that Aboriginal youth in Canada face many challenges that stem from hundreds of years of colonialism. The weight of all of this can be overwhelming and manifests itself in truly abhorrent statistics. First Nations youth are over 5 times more likely to take their own lives compared to the Canadian average. From my perspective, the simple action of pre-Xtreme visiting communities and kids like Kayla has the power to be revolutionary.
I think everyone should do it before we leave. Like, all together.
Oh,
Full blast show.
Take off the pants, too.
Just do it quick, Jess.
Yeah, because you want
Actually, the pants might be better because they should put warm back on. These we know.
Definitely the socks. There's no point in wearing your socks in. Right now, we are in some intense negotiations to see whether or not Jesse and Rex will go jump in the freezing cold water behind me.
3, 2, 1, go!
He bailed on me!
Oh, go, guys!
Who's to go back in?
No! That!
We're going next on the tour.
Oh, Tony's just going in. No.
Tony just walked in!
Tony! Pocket the wagons over there!
So, you don't do this in Japan?
No.
No?
Don't.
No. Marufuji and you don't go running into the cold water?
Kaito Kiyomiya wrestles with Noah, a very respected promotion back in Japan. At this stage in his career, he's referred to as, in the Japanese system, a young boy, basically a rookie. Of late, he's been training under the famous Naomichi Marufuji, and he's well on his way to having a great career. But it's standard practice for promotions to send their young boys abroad, gaining experience wrestling different styles and working in front of foreign audiences. The Northern Tour with CWF is Kaito's first experience of Canada, and you have to note that this experience couldn't be further from Tokyo.
One more time.
日本でなかなか結果が出なかったので、日本の自分の会社の方に海外修行したいっていうことを直訴したら、海外はすごい重要なことだと思ってます。クリスさんはすごい優しく接してくれるので。
Hammerlock underneath. So here, so arms.
レスリングの動きはやっぱりすごい無駄な動きがあったらいけないので。
What do you say? That's it.
すごい勉強になりました。
Kaito, do cutoffs like throat, self throat, self throat. He'll hit hard. Oh, okay. There you go. Perfect. Okay. Do stuff like that. Heads up, thumb.
Heel, very heel.
Heel, very very heel.
ベビーフェイスがやっぱり好きですけど、好きっていうかやっぱ僕はベビーフェイスかなって思うんですけど。
And yell at them in Japanese. Talk in your language. Okay. But yell at kids. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Go.
Go home.
Go home.
Yeah. ヒールをチャレンジしてみて、いや難しいけどすごい面白い。ヒールも、やってみたい。まだまだやっぱりヒールも勉強したいなって思いました。
Go home. Go home. There you go. It's going to be a bad guy tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to beat Jesse Bieber?
Yes, you bet.
You break him.
Yes.
All right.
I break.
Break him.
Broke. Yes.
Cut a promo. Say break him.
Justin Bieber, I'm broker. Yeah.
Hey.
Kaito's only way of communicating with the other wrestlers is some very basic English in the language of wrestling. The rest of his experience is left to pure observation. The history and present-day situation these communities face is little known within other parts of Canada, much less in Japan, so I can't imagine what he must think of the whole tour.
まず年齢層が全然違うなと思いましたね。日本はもしかしたら高齢化社会とかもそういうのも関係するのかもしれないですが、カナダではもう子供がすごい多いので、ほとんどがもう子供のファンなので、カナダの方がリアクションがすごいありますね。しかもやっぱり子供は素直なので、もうすごい声で応援してくれるんですよ。悪いことをやったらもうブーだし、いいことをやったらもうグッドイエーってなるので、すごいやりやすい、楽しい、もうエンジョイ。やっぱり僕も小さい頃からプロレスを見てたので、子供の観戦っていうのがすごい嬉しいですね。何度やられても立ち上がって最終的にはやっぱ勝つっていう、プロレスのそのファイティングスピリッツっていうのはすごい大事なことだと思うんですよ。生きてていっぱい辛いことあると思いますけど、プロレスラーのように強く生きれば、そういう強くなりたいと思えば、そういうなんか困難があっても立ち向かっていける強い気持ちになれると思いますし、そういうハートの強さをやっぱり子供たちはプロレスを見て学ぶんじゃないかなと思いますね。
East Main is a Cree community located on the east coast of James Bay in northern Quebec. Its population is 767 people, meaning about half the community will be ringside this evening.
Having Jesse on tour with me, it's amazing. Jesse Bieber's been here for 9 years. These kids have actually grown up with Jesse. Every night I get to watch my kid shine like a star. He started when he was 14 years old as a referee, busted his butt. The old owner picked on him so much. One day he just told me, he's like, "Dad, I want to wrestle." Before you know it, Jesse was thrown into a rumble. He kind of looked like Justin Bieber. All of a sudden people just started calling him Bieber. Bieber, Bieber, Bieber.
Right now we are seeing Jesse Bieber wrestle a dastardly villain. Jesse Bieber, of course, is the hero to this audience.
Back home, I'm actually not a babyface. I'm actually the heel. I play more based off the millennial kind of character. So when I get in the ring, I want to do the high-pitched screeches. I want to do the tantrum so that way I can get everybody mad at me. So they're like, "Oh, this guy's a little spoiled brat." Here, it's totally different. They know me almost as like a personal level because I have grown up with them.
He's a cheater!
And the best part is I'm just entertained. That's all I do.
What are you doing?
So I do a lot of comedy, and I do a lot of interacting with them. As long as they're invested in my match, I'm happy.
You can tell that the CWF has been doing this for years because this card is perfectly suited for this room. They're winning them over with every spot.
I always want my kids to follow my footsteps and become a wrestler. I don't think I really thought of that when I first started my wrestling. I should have expected it because I would go home and I'd wrestle with my kids all the time.
Father versus son. I don't think I've ever seen a father versus son wrestling match.
It's quite terrifying from this angle. This is so intense.
Yeah, this is, I think, the most intense match between them.
Oh, God.
Oh. There's something especially vicious about watching a dad suplex his own son.
We don't walk around saying, Jesse's my son. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't know that. Jesse is extremely talented, and I don't want people looking down at him because he's the promoter's kid.
Don't do it!
Oh!
Oh my God!
Oh, looks like Jesse got busted open in the mouth.
Did you follow?
Yeah, let's follow.
Oh, this is gonna be awesome.
Okay, that was new.
Wrestling!
It's like watching a wrestling show in Japan in the 80s with everyone running around like this. It's awesome.
Gross.
Oh yeah, my tooth was inside my lip. I had to like pull my lip out and up.
That's how wrestling works, right? Like, I mean, everyone thinks that you don't get injured and we don't put everything out there, but I mean, that goes to show you.
All right?
Yeah. No,
Sorry.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine. Happens.
Sometimes things happen.
I'm gonna cut it out. Can I take it back
together again? Got some glue? Just cut my hair?
It's Canada's birthday today, and for some, a pretty significant one too. Canada is 150 years old. While there is a barbecue and smiling faces, it's pretty evident that this national holiday means something completely different in Cree territory. Beginning as a Hudson Bay Company trading post, East Main has only been reserved for the Cree people since 1962. But these are traditional lands going back thousands of years. So for many, there's a palpable tension around the image of a maple leaf being celebrated on stolen native land.
Reality is the best story. Because he's coming out, I'm Mr. Canada, and they're the first real Canadians. So like when you're throwing it in their faces, you know what I mean, you're obviously getting an instant reaction of, who the hell is this guy? Who does he think he is? And instantly, they hate him. Sometimes when I come up with these ideas, I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm pushing the envelope. true Canadian.
Sometimes pushing the envelope is good.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the ring, Xtreme.
Here you got Mr. Aboriginal himself. Here he is fighting for us. Everybody in that audience wanted to be Shadow.
That's the O, there's the N, there's the Y.
I've witnessed wrestling matches around the world, but I don't think I've ever met wrestlers with more of a direct impact on their fans than CWF, especially Tony and Shadow. Their audiences are young, impressionable, and starved for outside perspectives. It's telling of the disconnect between Canada and the nations I've visited that this band of Road Warriors are literally the only live entertainment that makes it to these communities. I don't think the wrestlers plan on it, nor are they even fully aware of it, but they command great responsibility. Matthew the Mountie versus Cree Xtreme was more than just a wrestling match. It represents an ongoing dialogue around who or what is Canadian, and importantly, what does a Canadian hero look like by default? The fact that this is happening on Canada's 150th birthday couldn't come at a more opportune time.
They feel really low.
There are few places on the planet where you can't tune into some form of professional wrestling on a television or the internet. But to experience it in the flesh is a different story. For the remote First Nation communities of northern Canada, it'd be all but impossible if it weren't for the mettle of the wrestlers of the CWF. But the relationship is reciprocal, to say the least. The history of fandom within these communities is deep and rooted in something more than just pure spectacle. I can't help but think that, tucked far away from the glitz and glamour of the main stage, resides the beating heart of professional wrestling, the audiences of these small communities, and the wrestlers willing to weather the roads to find them.